One of MG Rover's greatest mysteries and perhaps one of the most incredible could-have-beens, the Rover 75 Coupe. In this video we explore its development, what the could have been, as well as what has been, including Gerry's Coupe. So without further delay, let's get into the video. But before we do, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're doing incredibly well at the moment and we've got like 6,000 subs. So drop a subscribe, and if you like this video, like it, and drop a comment below. Would you have had the Rover 75 Coupe? Is it too little too late? And I'll drop a reply to you as well, because I certainly would have a Rover 75 Coupe. As with all things, it's important to understand the beginnings. Project R40, known as the Rover 75, was released in autumn of 1998 at the Birmingham Motor Show. This was then followed by the acquisition by the Phoenix 4 to form MG Rover and the release of the Rover 75 Tourer in the new millennium. Since the Rover 800 that preceded it, there hadn't been another big Rover Coupe, and with the Tomcat's discontinuation in the late 90s, there was a gap that needed to be filled in Rover's lineup. Of course, at the time there was things like the 3 Series Coupe, the 406 Coupe, so Rover didn't have anything to directly compete with these. One of the things that had been thought of way back then was the Rover 75 Coupe. Moving on to 2004, after a cash-strapped MG Rover was moving into its final sort of deals with SIAC, they needed to get something off the drawing board to impress the Chinese investors. And what better to mark that and Rover's 100 years of the Rover mark than the Rover 75 Coupe. Rover needed a halo model, a model that could inject a bit more excitement into their range, as well as show off their technical capabilities to the investors. Coinciding with its 100-year anniversary, MG Rover, of course, decided to go with the Rover 75 Coupe project. The design was supposed to capture the magic of the iconic Rover designs, the SD1, the P6, and the P5, to name a few. Of course, the task was given to the incredibly talented Peter Stevens design team. Not much is known about the Rover 75 Coupe's development and production. However, Andrew, known as 75 Contemp SE on the 75 and ZT forums, has gone and done a great service inquiring with Peter Stevens about his work on the 75 Coupe project and how, of course, it came to be. The basis for the Coupe, as reported by Peter Stevens, was the standard 75 V8. The timescale for the whole project was 9 weeks. Also on the team's plate were the MGTF Coupe and a special version of the MGSV Supercar, with a deadline coinciding with the Autocar Awards event in Battersea Park that year. The team chopped the roof off an old 75 in Wedgwood Blue and made a full clay model of the Coupe's shape and used this shape as a mould. Then came the metalwork. Peter enlisted the help of a friend called Bob Elsby to make the steel roof, lengthen the doors, make the new B-pillar posts and the door inners, also modifying the body style line towards the rear of the car to make it a more cohesive shape. The interior was a version of the Rover 75 standard interior, remodelled in the MG Rover design studios beautifully, trimmed by now defunct Callow & Maddox, with yew wood as the centrepiece and the replacement wood for the standard mahogany in the Rover 75, even changing the dials with some never seen before dials. A new grille design was also proposed. Sadly, due to the time constraints on this 9-week-long project, this was not to be. So an existing premium / V8 grille was used from the Rover 75 V8. And all of this was done in the space of 9 weeks. At the unveiling, Peter Stevens, Rover's then design director, said, "I want people to turn away for a moment from the post-modern brutalism and to enjoy the elegant and timeless lines of the 75 Coupe's design. The true character of a Rover comes from its ability to present a cosseting environment, with comfort and refinement being the high priorities. Elements that should be expressed in the form and detailing of the exterior of the car. Heritage is a great strength for a marque, as it gives you the terms of reference and something to build on for the future. That is exactly how we saw the challenge of presenting a Rover concept in its centenary year. From my research, I believe I can disprove one of the common misconceptions about this car, that it was simply a fiberglass or clay model on a rolling chassis that was meant for nothing more than display. This car, of course, was a fully functioning car, and as demonstrated in the images shown from Peter Stevens, this shows that this was, of course, done with proper metalwork. The car at the time received critical acclaim in the media, and to this day, as one of the many what-ifs of MG Rover. You may be wondering what happened to the car itself. After the collapse of MG Rover in April of 2005, with the loss of 5,000 jobs at the Longbridge plant and the end of the last British-owned volume car manufacturer, SAIC then purchased MG Rover's remaining assets. This car was then spotted outside of Longbridge, within the grounds, of course, outside of the plant itself, in the grounds, in the car park, just simply sat there with the Rover badge removed. This was then replaced by an MG badge with an MG display plate, and it was used in the dealer display on the site in the press centre. This has now seemingly vanished, and if anybody has any information, or anybody please would like me to review this car and have a look at it, even just a quick look round, please let me know, because this is one of the big mysteries that I've always wanted to solve and have a look at in person. Now, you may think that's the end of the Rover 75 Coupe's legacy, a great what if that never was. Of course, one man could not let this go. Enter Gerry Lloyd, a Rover enthusiast and a living legend who created his own Rover 75 Coupe, created far away from its birthplace in Longbridge in Western Wales. Gerry, a retired builder, has made many one-off 75s, including the double-ended 75, the Rover 150, to name a few. If you're watching this video, Gerry, my word, you're a legend. Please get in touch. I'll drop you my email below. I would absolutely love to see your collection and possibly make a video on it. Gerry's first foray into this, of course, as mentioned, was the double-ended 75, the Rover 150, which led to his appreciation of the engineering and him joining the Rover 75 at MGZT Club to have his interest piqued by a Rover 75 concept thread, including the Rover 75 Coupe, thus giving birth to the idea and the project to create his own Rover 75 Coupe. The car is based on a 1.8 turbo Rover 75 with transplanted internals from a ZT190. The doors are made from a BMW 4 Series' reskinned doors and the boot badge from a P5B Coupe. Gerry worked 7 days a week for 18 months to produce this example. This car is one of the most fantastic things to come out of this community, and I mean that. I've read many articles on it. I've even seen it in person at one of the shows. I think it was at Pride of Longbridge in 2019, and it was phenomenal to look at. Sadly, the Rover 75 Coupe was not to be, except of course for Gerry's brilliance, which I'd love to see again in person if you're watching. The Rover 75 Coupe's story sadly demonstrates the failure of one of Britain's last great marques. However, on the flip side of this, it demonstrates the brilliance of one man, Gerry, who refused to let it lie and refused to be without the car that he wanted, and took it upon himself to create his own Rover 75 Coupe. Of course, that is what this community and car communities are all about. Things like that. Of course, as we know, the 406 Coupe had lukewarm sales in the UK, but the 3 Series Coupe remained extremely popular. And if this car, of course, was pitched correctly, I believe it could have been a fantastic success, beating out the 407 Coupe and going toe-to-toe with the CLK at the time, the 3 Series Coupe, and so on. I think it is one of the most brilliant designs out of the MG Rover design house headed by the Peter Stevens design team, and I think it is one of the greatest, as I mentioned, what ifs, and it's also a bit of a mystery because I don't think anybody really knows where the coupe is anymore. Well, as far as I'm aware. Of course, I've searched high and low on forums, and credit to the people who have helped in this research. Fantastic stuff. Do I think this could have saved MG Rover? No, unfortunately not. If they'd have been given the right investment and they'd been able to refresh the 75 with, of course, a bit of investment in the model years of 2005 and 2006, if the collapse hadn't have happened, then I think they could have been onto a winner. However, at that time, the Rover 75 would have been about 8 years old, so it would have been sort of in need for a bit of a refresh, sadly, with the way the car market was going. It is an absolute fantastic project and one of the most amazing looking Rover 75s I've ever seen, and I really hope this video has been entertaining and has shed a bit of light on the Rover 75 Coupe, as well as Gerry's Rover 75 Coupe Reborn project, which, if you search its reg, you can see that it's undergone the individual vehicle approval test and is now registered as a Lloyd Viking 75C. So thanks everybody for watching. Let me know what project or topic or whatever you'd like me to go over next, and I will see you in the next one.